Welcome to the Inspiration Cafe. We're speaking with Amy Pfeiffer, Director of Resort Sales, Walt Disney World Resort. Amy, welcome.
Thanks, Bill.
This is a platform where we have a chance to talk to planners and other hoteliers who are watching these segments. And I think my first question to you is, how does the coming year look for you overall?
Well, you know what, we're pretty excited about both the short term and the long term. In the last 2 years, Disney has put out a vast array of new products. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but we put out 2 new cruise ships. We built a resort in Hawaii, our Aulani Resort, and we've done expansions in both Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resorts. So we're getting a lot of positive attention, so we're feeling pretty good about both 2013 and beyond.
Just more meetings, more. Are they the same kinds of meetings? Are they?
I think we're seeing, I think the meetings are starting to, I think you'll probably hear this from a lot of my industry counterparts, those meetings are starting to creep up slowly but surely. So we feel good about that. Of course, I'm sure everyone wants to see more faster, but I think we're seeing a nice slow increase as we go into 2013 and looking farther beyond too.
And from your point of view, are you getting better booking windows? I mean, we talked with someone else about short booking windows, and I think
you're
I've got
spot
the phrase
on
right.
that. Spot on that. They're starting to lengthen out. Our association clients, I'm starting to see them go out a little bit farther, become a little bit less risk adverse. As supply becomes a little bit more limited, they feel the need to do that. On the corporate side, it's still very, very short term. I mean, it can be as short term as 3 weeks from now for 1,000 rooms for 3 nights. So
wow.
I would say it depends on the market segment. I think we're starting to see, again, that's a gradual increase, but it's still a very short term market, particularly on the corporate side.
And it's different in the sense that corporate's worried about cost and associations more about revenue, I would guess.
Yeah, they are really.
Attendees
Association about revenue. Of course, within that becomes the need to drive attendance, right, through their meetings, and so that's continued to be a standard throughout. So that's something we're always very focused on at Disney: is how do we help our association planners position their meetings correctly to drive that attendance for them.
And other than the spam bids, which is an issue, and the getting a little bit longer booking window.
Yes,
what are the other issues that from your standpoint, if I had a planner group here, I said they'll do anything you say, what would you ask, or AV providers for that matter?
I think you hit a lot of obviously the phishing is one of them. I would ask, I think what's happened with technology is that planners, just like we consumers, do a lot of their research and education online, which makes a lot of sense. It's quick and there should be a lot of information there. But what we're finding is that they're so far down in the sales process when they get there that they're so focused on that just nuts and bolts. I would like, if I had my wish list, it would be get us involved earlier in the process, right, so we can talk the big broad picture and the strategic outcome, and then still layer in those important pieces of what's my rates, my space, my dates. Right. That would be my one big wish if I could have it.
I mean, because they want to know about costs. That's
absolutely. That's
the hard part, but the easy part. That's what
it is, and it has to be addressed. I'm not saying you shouldn't address it, but you're going to address it one way or the other. Try and get it as much of that intrinsic value in as you can, because in the long run, that's what's going to make your meeting the most impactful, right? Not just going for where the lowest cost and all that could lead you to.
You probably don't see this. You might have to be thinking about what your managers might say, but are attendee expectations changing? Either corporate attendees or, I know everybody comes in now with 4 devices.
Yeah, I think attendees are probably more savvy than they've ever been. They come in, attendees are feeling, whether it's corporate to some degree, but let's focus on association for a moment, where I'm more than likely funding my own trip to the convention, believing it's worth that value. So I'm expecting a lot from the hotel and the venue because it's my own personal money that's funding it. So I think that's part of it. Also, technology you hit on. They come in knowing a lot about what they want to do, and they want to be able to use that technology throughout. So I think we all have to make sure that we have the right resources for them.
And are you able to keep your hotel systems up to date technically to match the registrations and all?
Yeah, no, I feel like we have. Recently, our Florida hotels here at Walt Disney World, it's very important. We want to use our technology, and we really don't want to pay for it if we can help it. I'm the same way, right? But recently we took across the resorts and all of our resorts, across the theme parks and all of the resorts at the Walt Disney World Resort, Wi-Fi is now complimentary to our guests. So we found that to be a very positive way to say, hey, we understand you want to be connected to your technology and we're going to support it as much as we can. So that's been positive.
And are you able to handle the demands of a meeting plus the guest
Well,
bandwidth? I mean, that's a lot.
no, you're right. That's a very good point. So the Wi-Fi we have in our meeting and convention spaces is generally will take care of social use.
Right.
But what we're doing more and more of with technology is we're sitting down and having a dialogue with our planners up front, even in the RFP, and said, tell us what you're really doing. Do you have 1,000 people who need to go on YouTube at once or pulling? Because if that's the case, we are going to have to go with a partner like Smart City or whomever, and we're going to have to get additional, and I think that's something everybody's dealing with. We have enough for social use throughout the center here and there, but if you have a meeting of 1,000 folks who need to get on, access YouTube or do polling right away, we're going to have to go to one of our partners to make that happen.
Because the social use goes on regardless. And then
Right,
you have a meeting
exactly.
on top of that.
But then, difference when you have a
Right.
whole meeting, or a users conference, something like that. So.
And it's hard, I think, I'll speak on behalf of the planners, it's also hard for them to know what the demand, how to articulate to you what the demands are. So
Yeah.
you said you go to a partners or a third-party partner.
Yeah,
that you,
what we'll do is we're trying to have a lot more collaborative discovery conversation up front. Can you tell us what kind of devices do your attendees generally use? Is it 80% you usually see on? What type of use will you have in your content? And the other thing I've found to be very helpful is, myself as a supplier executive or my sales manager in my meeting planner, we may need to bring in our partners from our organizations who can talk it to the nitty gritty, right? We may not know everything there is to know. There's nothing wrong with bringing in your expert from your organization to talk to our experts, so we make sure we're totally in line with what you need and what the best solution is, and the most cost-effective solution. I think you can't be afraid to bring in your experts.
is that true also of your AV provider? And believe me, I'm not searching for a self-promotion here. But
No, I know that's true. Well, it's funny because when I think about where technology is, that's where AV was, a while back. PSAV is a great partner for us, but what we started doing was we had to sit down and have more lengthy dialogue up front about what are your true needs, and don't just give us the broad stroke.
Right.
We need to really understand how you're going to use that so that we make sure we present the right solution at the right cost, because it's a big part of your budget. I think we've evolved that through the industry. Now I see us doing that with technology. Now I think with AV that became, I hope, very commonplace. We should all be doing that. Now I see that we're starting to do that in a better way with technology.
So I want to go back to the issue we were talking about before about if you got involved earlier in the process. Because the shopping purchase funnel is kind of interesting here. In
Yeah,
that
it's
you
painful.
sometimes don't hear until they've already gone by the strategic part, and now they're just down to details. So,
Exactly.
So how might we do that? Get the venue involved earlier?
Well, you know what, we're still a relationship business, and that's a big part of our strategy at Disney. So obviously we use technology with our clients, so when they source, but at the same time I have my casts, my sales managers out developing relationships and educating the end users, as well as our third-party partners. So we know that a lot of times we're going to end up on that spreadsheet where it's harder to differentiate yourself. But I always feel confident that if my team has done the right thing in educating and creating relationships, both in end users and third-party partners, that may give us the one leg up we need to showcase the strategic value and get us into that next competitive set.
And are you able to migrate best practices across your properties? So if I'm an association and they have a meeting at one property,
Absolutely.
how does that? Is there a process for that to work?
It's continuity. We work it through our sales systems, but it's just, we're a boutique collection in some ways because of where our resorts are and how many resorts that we have. So it's very easy for me in Walt Disney World to call up my counterpart in Disneyland and say, here's what you need to know, here's what they like, here's what worked for them, here's what they would like to do better. So we kind of keep a one-to-one approach with that. We try and keep it very close within our properties.
What would be the most common misunderstanding about the Disney World resorts that most planners would have, misperceptions, if any?
So what I sometimes have to get over, probably most frequently, is that you probably come to Disney for a family vacation. You brought your kids, your grandkids, your nephews, your nieces, and sometimes I have to spend a little bit more time educating folks that we are a convention resort.
Right.
We have 6 convention resorts with 5,000 hotel rooms and 700,000 square feet of meeting space. We have all these wonderful, creative assets of the world's largest entertainment company for your meeting, for you to engage in. We also have the Disney Institute. business development. So that, I think a lot of times that's oh, really? You do business development? Once I make sure, once they get that, then I can get them engaged on what that can mean for them. But that's probably the thing that comes.
There is a business side to this.
No, there's definitely, there's
right.
a very big business proposition, especially for, one example would be, for our associations, transportation costs are an expense. It can be a major expense. And so we have Disney's Magical Express, which will transport you complimentary to and from the airport. That's a huge savings to the bottom line
right.
for an association. So we try and help them see the value proposition, the business proposition to meet at Disney, not just the wonderful creative assets. It's a nice combination.
If we had a group of planners out there, is there one last thing you'd like to say to them before we leave about how they could make your life simpler and better?
Simpler and better. I really would say probably, if I can have my 2-point wish list, and it probably has flowed through this conversation. One, be as targeted as possible in your
right.
approach to your search, because we know that you are time crunched and resource crunched, and we're probably in the same boat, and we want to give you our best response and best time. And then secondly, bring us in as early in the process as you can, understanding what you're going through on your timeline, because we want to be strategic partners. We can do more for you and help you present the best solution to your organization.
Similarly to AV providers, any message to AV providers, whoever they may be?
I think it's exactly the same thing. It's, when you get down to it, it's not, I hate to say this, but it's not brain surgery. It's about good communication, sharing as much as you know about the client's needs, and we should share back and forth so that we're presenting a great solution at a cost-effective price. There's still a lot of bottom line thought process out there because of the economic climate, and it's all of us slowing down enough to take the time to have that collaborative effort. That's always the first thing to go, because you're just running, you're running to get things done. And I'd say the same thing to them.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
That's the key word.
It all comes back to collaboration.
Great.
It
Thanks,
always
Amy.
does. Thank
Great
you,
way
Bill.
to end.
Appreciate it.
We've been speaking with Amy Pfeiffer, Director of Resort Sales, Walt Disney World. There are lots of episodes to view on Inspiration Cafe, but please be sure to come back and look at this one.